Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us during the Lytham Partners Fall 2024 Investor Conference. My name is Roger Weiss, and I'm a Vice President at Lytham Partners. In this presentation, we welcome Fortress Biotech, Inc., NASDAQ ticker symbol FBIO. And with us today is their Chairman, President, and CEO, Dr. Lindsay Rosenwald. Lindsay has been an entrepreneur in the sector for over 25 years and serves on the board of Fortress's public subsidiaries, including Journey Medical, Checkpoint Therapeutics, Avenue Therapeutics, and Mustang Bio. Fortress Bio is an innovative biopharma company focused on identifying, in-licensing, and developing high-potential marketed therapeutics and development stage drug candidates. FBIO has approximately 20 current programs in both pre- and clinical development across its partner companies, including targets in oncology, rare diseases, and gene therapy. With that said, Lindsay, let's begin. As we start, Lindsay, can you tell us about Fortress and what the company is trying to achieve?
Sure. Well, like any company, we're focusing on trying to get our products to the market and generating profitability, positive cash flow, and grow from there. Our model is different than pretty much anybody else in the business. We are very concerned about limiting risk. It's a risky business, drug development, so we mitigate risk two ways. One is large diversification. We have 11 or so clinical programs, 20 total development stage programs. We also have a dermatology company that we own almost half of that's doing about 55 or 60 million a year in revenue. So we have lots of shots on goal, lots of potential to generate lots of cash flow. That's the goal. And it is as you'll see going forward in the presentation and in the interview here, it's a very scalable business. You'll see that there are thousands and thousands of drugs and drug candidates that could potentially be sourced to the best would fit our business model. We don't like to pay for R&D. We have partners that pay for our research and development, so we're trying to be as cost effective as possible. And when it comes down to picking from this large basket of opportunities, not only do we want to be very diversified to limit risk, but we really don't want to buy assets or license assets, drug development candidates that don't already have what we view as positive human clinical data. We'll do some earlier things, but that's not where we're going to, put our partner company's capital. So risk averse, large diversification, large late stage pipeline. We have 3 potential approvals in the next 9 months or so, including 2 this year, and a successful dermatology business.
Let me follow up then. As I noted in the intro, you've got a significant number of drug and drug candidates in the portfolio. And as you've discussed across different therapeutic areas, could you go into detail and highlight some of those drug candidates that really get you most excited?
Sure. So let me start with a couple of slides that will be helpful. Just so you know, I am making forward-looking statements, and feel free to look at our SEC filings for risk factors and audited financials. Let me start at the end because it is a complicated story, so sometimes it's helpful to hear this a couple of times. We find these assets, drug candidates that are either in the clinic or approved outside of the U.S. that we bring in for U.S. market. Again, that would be a lower risk asset because it's already been approved by a quality FDA if it's Japanese or the European Union. So we acquire these. We have partner companies that either exist or that we find that will actually pay for the R&D. And what we'll do is we'll get value for what we've done and continue to do to support these programs, hopefully building a snowball of cash flow that we're hoping is pretty near term. We generate from most of these programs, some or all of the following: royalties once they hit the market, direct product revenue. The goal is to have our own products, but we don't want to pay for R&D at Fortress. With investor money, we want to do that out of positive cash flow. Milestone payments, we have potentially a couple of $100 million in milestone payments or more over the next few short years. Monetizations, we have big equity positions in a lot of these partner companies, and when you sell them, you can make a lot of money. We have the equity, and in some of the companies, we get a little bit of equity each year to keep us incentivized to help these companies. So that's a good introduction to our business model. This is our portfolio, so you can see there's a lot there, but I am going to narrow down, Roger, to answer your question, which ones we're most excited about. And the next slide will sort of help with that. But as you can see, our portfolio, we have a dermatology business doing between $55 and $60 million. One of the drugs we're extremely excited about, at the bottom of the dermatology list, you see DFD-29. We'll get to this in a second. This could make our Journey dermatology division, very, very profitable business in the near term. In the rare diseases, we have a drug for Menkes disease that is extremely exciting. We'll get to that. We have a drug that we sold to Alexion, which was subsequently bought by AstraZeneca for cardiac light chain AL amyloidosis. And then we have one more, cosibelimab, that we hope to have approved this year. So, and then there is a pipeline behind it. Some are extremely exciting, and we're excited about our prospects. This is how we end up making money out of this. This slide is a very important slide. It shows you where we start generating revenues and cash flow from these programs. And as you can see, as you go from left to right, there are more potential shots on goal that could get to the market and start generating cash flow for us. So if we have time, we'll go back to this slide. So here are the programs. DFD-29, this is an oral small molecule for rosacea. Rosacea is basically adult acne. It's about 17 million Americans get it. It's adult Americans. It's a redness and papules or pustules on your face and erythema. Mostly it's treated with topicals because there's only one approved oral medicine called Oracea. That's approved for the pimples, but it doesn't get the redness down. So people use the topicals, which people don't like because they're messy and inconvenient, to work on the redness of your face. This drug, we did a phase 3 program, 2 phase 3 clinical trials, head-to-head against standard of care, Oracea. We beat them on the primary and secondary endpoints. We did reduce not just the pimples or the papulopustular pimples. We also reduced the redness significantly. So we anticipate this could be a very good seller for us. We have our dermatology business, Journey Medical, as I said, has over 30 salespeople. It's doing between $55 and $60 million a year. This drug has the potential to multiply those sales by 100%, 200%, maybe even 300%, and make it a very, very profitable company. That is the goal. We have a PDUFA date. That's the date where the FDA is supposed to either on or before make a decision to approve or not approve the drug. That is coming up in November, early November. So I think we have about 7.5 weeks till our PDUFA date. We hope to get the approval there. It's an exciting drug and could make our Journey division, which we own 10 million shares of, in a very, very profitable company. It's a publicly traded company under the ticker symbol DERM. The next one is cosibelimab. This is an excellent checkpoint antibody for 2 indications that we had successful phase 3s on. It's called cutaneous squamous cell carcinoma. There's 2 kinds that we address. One is locally advanced, where it just spreads locally, and the other is metastatic. We had very, very good data in both of them. This one, we have the FDA decision coming up on or before December 28th. So you can see the fourth quarter is a pretty critical quarter for Fortress. We own a nice piece of Checkpoint. We got a royalty of 4.5% if they market it, and an annual dividend of about 2.5% of the fully diluted equity each year. And that's important because that incentivizes us to help the company find other drugs to add to their pipeline. A third drug that we're extremely excited about is CUTX-101. So this is a drug for Menkes disease. It's a horrible disease. It's an ultra-rare pediatric disease. This is for newborns that are born without the ability to absorb copper through their GI tract. So they're born normally. They look normal. They are normal at birth because they've got all the copper they need from their mother, from the placenta, from the umbilical cord. The minute you cut the cord, they stop getting copper. And within a few weeks, they develop severe neurologic irreversible symptoms, including very bad epileptic seizures. It's a terrible disease. Median survival is about 15 months, which means half the children die in the first 15 months of age. It's a terrible, terrible disease. This is a drug that is a injectable, the only safe and effective in through phase 3 of 14-year, I think, phase 3 clinical program. It is takes these patients and increases their survival to over 14 years on average, median survival. So it's a major breakthrough for these patients. The PDUFA date, we should finish filing. We receive what's called breakthrough designation from the FDA, which means that it is a potentially very life-saving drug, and it will get very good, careful attention and quick review from the FDA. A standard FDA review is 12 months. This would have a 6-month review. It also allows you to file the new drug application rather than waiting until it's all complete and filing it at once. As you finish different modules, like the clinical data, the preclinical data, the manufacturing, things like that, the FDA, you can submit them individually, and the FDA will start reviewing them. So we have one module left to file. That should get filed in the next several weeks. We hope to get the approval in the first half of 2025. Because we have breakthrough designation, we qualify, we believe we qualify for what's called a priority review voucher. These are vouchers that come with the approval letter, if we should receive the approval letter, and those generally are sold to big drug companies for about 100 million or so. We would keep about 40% of that money, so we would bring in about $40 million to our Cyprium subsidiary, which we own 75% of, and we generate a big royalty from. So that is copper histidinate. And then we have a drug, CAEL-101. This is a drug for cardiac amyloidosis. Amyloidosis is related to multiple myeloma. It's a terrible disease. It's just a disease where your body makes amyloid. It's a misfolded protein. It has zero benefit, but actually is fatal. 75% of the time, it accumulates in the heart muscle. These are also uniformly fatal disease. Historically, these patients live less than 2 years. This has had excellent phase 1 and phase 2 data. The company that we own 42% of all the economics, we sold it to AstraZeneca/Alexion about 3 years ago. So they're finishing up the development. We anticipate the 2 phase 3 clinical trial results should be out, we hope, in 2025, and we would hope to have an approval in 2026. And based on that, we would receive over about a 4 or 5 year period as much as $150 million in milestones from AstraZeneca/Alexion. And then there are two more that are really exciting and pretty late stage. Dotinurad is a drug. Again, if you remember, every one of these drugs we bought already had positive human clinical data. Dotinurad is already approved in Japan. Fuji Pharmaceuticals owns it. It was approved about 4 years ago. Eisai owns Chinese rights. They expect to have the approval early in, or certainly the first half of 2025. We own, outside of Latin America, we own basically the rest of the world. So the biggest markets, the US, the North American market, and the European and Great Britain markets, we own. We expect to meet with the FDA in the next few weeks to see if they agree with our phase 3 plan. We hope to go into 2 phase 3 clinical trials next year. This is a big potential product. Is for hyperuricemia, high uric acid levels in your blood, which can cause gout, among other things, but gout is the big initial use. And the hope is to get this into pivotal phase 3s next year. But again, nothing is completely de-risked, but it's substantially de-risked because it is approved. There are, I believe, 100,000 patient years worth of post-marketing experience of the drug. So we know it appears to be very safe and extremely effective. And then last but not least is our triplex vaccine. It's a drug, a vaccine that goes against a cytomegalovirus. Cytomegalovirus is a virus that most Americans have it in their body. It doesn't do anything to you, but as you get older, if you ever have an organ transplant or a bone marrow transplant, they're going to give you lifetime therapy of immunosuppressants so you don't reject the transplant. And once your immune system is beat up because of immunosuppressant drugs, in a certain percent of patients, that's cytomegalovirus, which has been laying in your body, not causing anybody any harm. It can come out, reactivate, and it could do nothing. It could damage or destroy the new organ, or it could even potentially kill you. So this is a very effective vaccine that's in multiple clinical trials for everything from liver transplant to bone marrow transplants, kidney transplant. We hope to be in a phase 2 kidney transplant trial in the not too distant future. And it's also being used in combination with what's called a CAR T, a chimeric antigen receptor T cell that goes after both cancer, and another one that goes after the reservoir for AIDS called the HIV reservoir. It's an exciting program. The cancer is in the clinic. We're just starting the clinical trial. We hope for the HIV, we're hoping to eradicate where the HIV is stored in these patients, even when they're treated well. So this is a pretty meaningful pipeline. I think you see that, Roger, for a company as small as ours. And you can see this slide on our website. It details the economics that we have from this. But that, I would say, is hopefully answering your question.
It sure does. And certainly I can understand why you are excited. I mean, there's just some tremendous both number of therapeutics and a lot of them obviously with some very short-term time frames to hopefully hearing some very good news.
Thank you.
I did, just kind of going along with that, you've clearly assembled a great portfolio here. How do you keep going? How do you find novel de-risk programs to add to this kind of portfolio? And what are the key attributes that you look for, when you're out hunting?
Well, some of it is proprietary, so we're not going to tell you how we do it, but I will tell you broadly. Again, our focus is on approximately 2,500 drugs that have been approved outside of the United States, in the EU or Japan or both. So we know that those are very good, tough FDAs like in the US. So if it's approved in one of those jurisdictions, it's going to be effective and it's going to be safe for the intended use. So that's a great place to start. You'd be surprised. A lot of these are available. Like I said, dotinurad has the potential to be a really big drug, and it was already approved in Japan with new patents when we acquired it. So the hardest part of the business is sorting through 2,500 of these opportunities. That's a lot. Then there's another 7,000 or 8,000 unique drug candidates that are in clinical trials in the US and all over the world. So what we do there is we look for drugs that are in the clinic, that already have proof of concept in humans, that for some odd reason are available. And there's usually 2 or 3 reasons they may be available. One is there may not be a patent. You know what? It doesn't matter. You don't always need a patent. You need a drug that works, that addresses a large market, that you can get a great return on investment while you have exclusivity. Between the orphan drug laws, which give you 7 years exclusivity without a patent, biologics, which give you 12 years without patents, or just new chemical entity, without patents, you get a 5-year exclusivity. If it's a big enough drug, you can get a great return on that relatively low risk investment. The other is looking, again, for drug candidates that are in the clinic that already have positive data. And there's really 2 or 3 buckets that they fall in. One is that there's a clinical trial first in human that's going to show some effectiveness or not, and you try to get a hold of that data before anybody else. And it's sometimes available, and that's always been a big successful approach for me in the past. And we have one of those programs in our portfolio that we're excited about. The other is that the data is published. It's already been presented. It's really exciting, but for whatever reason, we can get it. We don't pay a lot for these things. So how could that be? Well, there's going to be a little bit of hair on it. There's either no patents, which never stops us if we can get a really good return on the investment. The other is that it's not a $1 billion or $2 billion drug. The big drug companies put up most of the capital for clinical research today, and as they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, they need bigger and bigger drug markets. And so you can make a lot of money on a $500 million or a $750 million drug. If it's already de-risked, the data is great, you can do very well. And so it's an inefficient market where we're looking. And most of the drugs that are in the clinic are where we're looking. So I hope that answers the question.
It does answer it, and makes a lot of sense. And I kind of do a quick follow-on, which is how scalable is this?
Well, like I said, it's incredibly scalable. There's no shortage of opportunity that can work in our business. The hardest problem is finding them and vetting them. And so in order to find them, it's been historically very labor intensive. I've always hired lots of MDs and PhDs to sort through data, to go to conferences looking for these leads. Not surprisingly, artificial intelligence, we believe, is going to replace 90% of that, of what we've done in the past. In my whole career, hiring lots of these doctors to find these opportunities. We are talking to a number of artificial intelligence companies now. We know what the algorithm is. We certainly don't have the capability to do the large language models and the machine learning. That's becoming more of a commoditized item now. And we think that on a very cost-effective basis, we can put that together in several months or quarters and be able to generate a huge number of potentially bankable leads. And then the other thing that we do is we set up shell companies with the best key opinion leaders in their space. These are usually physicians. They're very heavily published in their fields, and they're principal investigators in often dozens of done clinical trials as the main investigator. They know their area better than anybody. AI can't replace that brain. They've seen, been involved in dozens or hundreds of drug development programs, or supervised them, or vetted them, yes or no. And we set up companies with them. They're incentivized to help us evaluate these and as well as bring in some of the assets that we may be missing. So it's, there's no shortage of great people, and there's no shortage of great opportunities. It's really a question of finding it and vetting it and trying not to make a mistake.
It sounds like things have been working well so far, and obviously, continued success with the game plan.
Well, thanks, Roger. Greatly appreciate it, and appreciate the opportunity to present to whoever's watching this. Very much so.
With that, Lindsay, thank you for joining us and for speaking about both Fortress's game plan and its strategic opportunities. I want to just let everybody know who's watching this that Fortress management will be participating in one-on-one meetings during this conference. So please feel free to go to www.lythampartners.com/fall 2024 and please register for a meeting. Again, to everybody watching, we hope you will all enjoy the Lytham Fall 2024 conference, and thank you again.